Hi, my name is Heather. Welcome to the Knits and Things podcast. I am on episode 15 now. This is going to be called Christmas Gifts because that's mainly what I've been working on. So, if you're looking for me on social media, I mainly use Ravelry and Instagram, and I'm Heather219 there. You can find show notes for the podcast, and I'll talk about that in a little while. You can find show notes for the podcast on my blog, which is www.knitsandthings.wordpress.com. That's the only place where you have to type out the word and. Everywhere else is just the little n. And in the Ravelry group for the podcast, which is the Knits and Things podcast group. So come on over. One of my New Year's resolutions is going to be to update show notes. The other one is going to be to actually enter project pages for everything that I knit, because right now I barely do either. So that's one of my New Year's resolutions. I also want to say welcome to the latest group members, just as a thank you for being there and for joining in with the group. And so since the last time I recorded, we've had Four Eyes Knitting, Pattern Whisperer, All That Cake Knit, Vicky0000, Mac, what a nice simple name, and Absolutely Kathy join the group. So thank you and welcome. I hope you enjoy the group, and I hope you will continue watching. So let's jump right into the knitting, because I have a couple things to talk about afterwards, and I've been working on a lot. So let's get started into thing one. Okay, so for thing one, I'd like to start out with my one finished object. Is this the only thing that I finished? No, it's not. I have two. I'd like to start out with two finished objects. The first one, since it's right here with me, I'll show you that one. The first is the Stitch Surfer socks. I'm so happy with these. They're so cute. Okay, so here's my Stitch Surfers. Let me show them to you this way first. So the Stitch Surfer is a toe-up sock pattern. It's free on Knitty, and it makes this cool wave when you wear the socks. When you wear the socks and you're holding them together, you've got a little wave of solid color going in between. The way the directions are written, I followed the directions, I think, exactly, although clearly I have problems with that every once in a while. When you do it, so you're supposed to use self-striping and a solid color yarn, and I'm using Inspiration Dye Works for the striping and Miss Babs for the solid, well, the semi-solid. The stripes are supposed to line up, and so everything was going along great. When I first started the toe, I'm like, look at this, they match up exactly, But then when you do the heel, maybe I need to do the heel in the solid color each time and leave the stripe for somewhere else, but I think I followed directions where they wanted you to do the heel solid on one side and striped on the other, because you're using the main color to do the heel. So when you switch and you're using the main color as your stripe on this one, then your heel is going to have a stripe too, right? Oh, and ignore the fact that there are more stitches for this heel than this heel, because apparently that went wrong too. But then the stripes get off. So I don't know. I still think they're very cute. I still really like them. The stripes match up perfectly along the foot until I got to the heel. So they're a little bit off up here, but oh well. So I still think they're very cute. I hope my sister really likes them, and I think she will. My son has already requested his pair, so he will probably have a pair of blue ones coming, because I have some blue self-striping yarn that I'm going to use for him. So that's one finished object. Those are the Stitch Surfers. Fun, fun, fun. I love them. I love them. I love them. The other finished object is a trilobite hat. I'm going to run and grab that. You have to excuse me. I have a suitcase here being loaded, and so it's I can't really step close to my case right there, because I've got a big suitcase that I'm loading up, because my son and I are about to take a trip. So this is the trilobite hat, the second trilobite hat that I think I just finished. I don't think this was finished by the time I recorded last time, but I don't know. It seems like it's been forever. The last couple weeks of school before a break seem like years. So it feels like it's been forever. I don't know if it's quite been this forever, but this is the trilobite hat. So I did this one for a friend of mine, who's just a really deserving guy. Very nice guy. He went on a trip to Ireland early this year and brought me back a skein of yarn, because he knows that I'm a crazy knitter. And so I thought to reward him that I would knit him a hat. He claimed he wanted a blanket, but I don't know about that. So I think a trilobite hat is good because he knows that both my sister, he's actually a friend that I met through my sister, and he knows that both my sister and my brother-in-law have hats just like these because everybody in my family gets a trilobite. So I thought this was fitting for him to have it because he's always there at our family gatherings. So this one is for my buddy Ryan. And this is done out of Madeline Tosh. I think it's the Cousteau colorway, and it's the Mad Tosh Vintage. So it's the worsted weight yarn, and I think it's just absolutely beautiful. I really like this hat. It works out so well, and there's a little bit of fiddling until you realize which way the cables go. There's a little bit of fiddling, especially when you first start with the little bobbles there. But once you do that, it's very intuitive to go all the way up. Now, I say that, and I've also knitted 6 of them, so maybe it's only intuitive once you get past it, but I think probably most people follow patterns a little better than I do, so you can get it. So those are my 2 finished objects, and I'm still working on a couple more items. So these are my almost finished objects, and let's see, let's start with my son's hat. So my son requested a mohawk hat. Not just a mohawk hat. He wants a mohawk hat that has ear flaps. And he's thinking he has in mind a hat that one of his friends wore last year when we all went skiing together. And so I looked around in Ravelry, and there are a ton of ear flap mohawk hats or mohawk ear flap hats, whatever. I've done a bunch of searches. The ones I saw all seemed very like sports themed. Like they were, you know, solid color this, solid color that. They looked very, you know, sports team related and not like what I was picturing in my mind when I remembered this friend's hat. So I found kind of a combination of a couple different patterns that I'm going to do. The first pattern is finished. This is the 1898 hat that has, it's a fisherman's hat. So it's got a nice double thick headband that goes around the bottom, and once you do the headband, then you pick up around the headband for the bowl of the hat. And so and you do the headband back and forth with some increases and decreases to form the ear flaps, and then you fold it over because you're doing mainly garter stitch, but then you're also slipping the middle 3 stitches. You slip them on one side and you knit them on the other side, so you get this ridge, and then you can fold it over right there and sew the 2 ends together here so that you can then pick up and do the bowl of that. So it's a very interesting construction. I really like it. There's just one little seam at the back where you sew the 2 ends of garter ridge together, and you do it as a 3 needle bind off. So it's really very inconspicuous, but I think it definitely makes a back of the hat, and it's very cute. I use 2 different yarns. The blue is a Classic Elite, something with cashmere in it, and then I'm also using this variegated yarn is some Miss Babs Yowza What a Skein, and here's the tag. So the blue is Classic Elite Cash Soft DK, of course. I had this from when one of the local stores went out of business. I got this, I think, at like 40% off, which was the only reason I bought it. And I bought 3 skeins, so he's using 2 of them. I've used 2 so far. I'm going to need to do a little bit more to the hat, so there's going to be a little more. And then the Miss Babs Yowza What a Skein is in the Biker Chick colorway. This is leftovers from some sweaters and my brickless that I did earlier this year. And that went in as a little stripe around, because what I'm going to do is when I do the mohawk, I'm going to follow a different pattern. There's a Free Lion brand pattern that has a mohawk to it, a mohawk and braids that hang down off the ear flaps. But the hat was sized for a toddler, infant or a toddler, and I didn't think I had the time to go fiddling around with trying a pattern and having it not work, and then trying it, you know, if I had to try it multiple times to get everything just right, I didn't want to run out of time since it's Christmas time. So I went with this hat that I think fits very nicely and looked like it would fit his head, because my son has a humongous head. His head is definitely adult size already, and he's only 11. So I think this was going to be a better fit. I just didn't want to take a chance trying to upsize a toddler hat with the yarn I had, because I had either DK or worsted, and I thought it was going to take probably bulky to get it to fit to be that much of a change. But anyway, I didn't feel like fiddling with it, so I went with this. I know this fits, and now I'm going to pick up and do the mohawk stripe here with a combination of the blue and the Miss Babs and the variegated. And then also I'm going to do 2 braids off of each ear flap. And again, I'll do a combination. I'm playing around with how many strands I'm going to need to hold together to do that. I was thinking 2 of one and 1 of the other, but I think I might have to do maybe 2 or 3 at a time of one color and 2 or 3 at a time of the other to make the braid. So I might have to end up using like 6 strands of one and 1 of the other, in which case I'll probably have to do the blue. So I'll do 6 strands of blue, 3 strands of the Miss Babs, and then hold them together as 3 strands, so that I can then braid them together. So this is what I have in my mind. I still have, what's today? Today's December 22nd. So I have a couple days left. And I know I have the rest of today because my son is with his dad. They went up to his dad's parents' house for the weekend, since we're taking off just after Christmas. I know I have today and tomorrow evening when he goes with his dad for dinner to kind of get that finished. And I don't think that that's going to take that long. So that one is pretty much done. It's just got the finishing touches to put onto it. I also have, let me show you this. This one I'm really happy with. I've never knitted a toy before, but I picked this up at one of my local yarn stores this summer. This is the Topsy-Turvy Inside Out Knitted Toy Book from Susan B. Anderson. And I want to knit a couple things in here, but I started out with the dog in the doghouse for my nephew. So my nephew is 9 months old. And this is the toy that I want to make for him, the dog in the doghouse. So it's a dog, or it's a dog and a doghouse. The doghouse becomes the stuffing for the dog becomes the stuffing for the doghouse. And I've got these 2 parts done. I'm still working on the head, and I'll show you that part as well. So I've got the doghouse and the dog's body done, and I'm working on the dog's head now. I just got to the point where it told me I need some fiber fill, because here's his head all nice and done. There's his head, so I'll need to stuff his head, and then I keep going. Once I've stuffed it, once I've stuffed a little bit of fiber fill in there, then I keep closing it up and kind of stuffing the fiber fill to finish it up. So there's his head that's going to go on top of his body, and he'll be the dog. And this is a doghouse. I know it's a very bright toy, but he's an infant, so he needs bright colors, right? Yeah, he's got them anyway. But I really think you can already see how it's going to work. So the dog tucks into the doghouse, and the doghouse tucks into the dog, so that you can see the one finished toy at each time. So here's the dog inside the doghouse, and there's the cute little doghouse, like that. Okay, and then if you take that part out, if you take the dog out and stuff the doghouse in, then you will have a cute little doggy. So there's his body, and there's his head to go on top. Cute, right? So, and I'm almost done with that too. The head is the last part, the head and the ears. I think you go back through and whip stitch some eyes on, and then you do, I guess I do need to do some feet as well. But it's almost done. And again, 3 more days. I won't see him definitely until Christmas Day. I guess he'll actually be at the house tomorrow, but I won't see him to give him presents until later on Christmas Day. It's not like it needs to be under the tree for Christmas morning because they don't live here. So, there's the dog in the doghouse. I'm sorry, my nose is running all of a sudden for some strange reason. All right. Let me put those on top of the suitcase stuff. All right, so that's the second item. The third item. So I've been knitting on a mystery shawl. It's the You and I mystery shawl. Oh, and for the dog, I'm totally using acrylic yarn. I think it's Bernat. Is it a Bernat yarn? I don't know what this is. Premier Yarns, Eversoft. It was on sale at Joann's one day. It was like $1.29 a skein. I'm like, that looks like dog material to me. All right. But the other item. I'm working on a mystery shawl with Fiddle Knits Designs. It's a gorgeous mystery shawl. Two colors. The two colors represent different birthstones. You choose 2 birthstones that you like the look of, or 2 birthstones that represent people that you want the shawl to represent, something like that. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful sentiment. It's gorgeous. And I've been trucking right along. I've been taking it to work and doing little bits here and there to try and get this done, because this is for my mother for Christmas. And the 2 colors I chose, one represents my own son, one represents my nephew, both of who are my mother's grandsons. And it's beautiful. And I'm on the last clue, and I've been trucking right along. There it is. It's gorgeous, right? Beautiful slip stitches. Now I'm into the part that's a slip stitch cable deal. Wonderful. So I took this to knitting yesterday, and I laid it out, and I thought, something seems off. There were like 2 different rows where I got to the center section and I wasn't at the center where I should be, and things that I was counting out weren't working out right. And I thought, what in the world is going on? So I laid it out and I went, what in the world? This shawl, since the very beginning, I've been knitting asymmetrically, and that's not in the pattern at all. So if you look, I don't know that I can get it all in the screen. Let me hold it by the tips. Yeah, so there's the center, and as you can see, this side much longer than this side, because this side has 2 extra pattern repeats. Yeah, so I've done a couple more rows since yesterday when I realized that, but it's really kind of slowed me down and kind of taken the wind out of my sails. I don't know. I think at this point I need to just keep pressing on, and at the end let her decide if she likes it or not, and if I should keep pressing on, and if she wants to wear it, or if I should rip it out, or hopefully she'll see it for what it is, which is a finished knitted object, you know, imperfect like the knitter. I don't know. My one ray of hope is when you wear a shawl like this, most of the time you wear it across your back, and then you sling one side over one shoulder and the other side over the other shoulder, right? So nobody's going to know that it's not even, right? Once it's like that, you'll never know, right? I'm usually not really a perfectionist, but knowing something is that off is really just, I don't know what it is. It's really kind of taking it out of me. So, this is object number 3. We'll see what happens with object number 3 next time. Stay tuned. It'll be a cliffhanger. If you follow me on Instagram, I've been posting tons of pictures of it because I really think it's gorgeous. I really think it's beautiful. But moving on. Alright, so thing 2 is pretty much nada because I'm focusing on knitting the Christmas gifts. I feel like I gotta get the Christmas gifts out, but I did accidentally happen to check. See, this is what gets me. I'm in all these different groups, and when you see the updates or when you see the color of the month or whatever, I'm like, oh, if it's going to be such and such, I don't even have to worry about it because I don't like that. But now if it was going to be this color, I'm totally in there because that's beautiful, right? That's what happened this month with Fat Cat Knits. So if you don't know, Fat Cat Knits every month has a colorway of the month, but the people in the group, the members of the group, get to vote on what colorway they like. And there's a little bit of politics going on there, I'm not going to lie. But a lot of times the color I want is not the color that everybody votes for. And usually I'm like, they didn't vote for my color. Moving on. But a couple times I've been like, they didn't vote for my color, but oh my gosh, look at that one they did vote for. it's gorgeous. And then I end up wanting it. And so the same thing happened. I've been on like the I'm not spending any money, it's Christmas kick. And then I remembered the whole PayPal bill me later thing. I'm like, well, if my colorway doesn't get picked, no biggie. But if it does, there's always bill me later, right? And my color got picked. So this month they voted for a colorway that is very different for me. I like all the colors in it, but I would never have put all those colors together. And it's a very cool colorway, and I normally go for very warm colors, very oranges and things like that. So this is now going to kind of morph into Everyone Needs a Need, because I ended up buying the colorway, right? So, and I also asked for it to be in a gradient. So this is the Cool Madras colorway from Fat Cat Knits, and I got it in Polworth. I had to really control myself, and I said I can't go for Polworth and silk, but I love Polworth to spin because it's very soft and squishy. So this is Polworth. This is the Cool Madras colorway from Fat Cat Knits, and this is the repeat. It goes white into kind of a purpley gray, into nice bright neon green, and then into a navy blue. Very pretty. And so I ordered a bump and a half. I ordered 6 ounces. So this is what a 4-ounce braid would have looked like. And then she sent me one more of these, and that is actually on the wheel. I was letting my toes dry from my pedicure and needed to just kind of sit and chill, and I was watching some Netflix reruns and doing a little bit of spinning. So I spun from the white. I'm into like the grayish purple color now on the part that's on the wheel already. So that's going to be fun, I think. And I'm going to try to do a 3-ply using 3 different bobbins. So I'm taken the 1 braid and the 2-ounce braid and opened it all up, and I'm spinning just from the hank of the fiber. I didn't split it into different strips or anything. I'm just spinning from the white to the purple to the green to the blue. And so we'll see. I'll do the same thing here. I'll open this all up and I'll split it here at the white, and hopefully it'll be about the same. There, in the 2-ounce braid, there seemed to be a bigger section that was just white. But we'll see once it gets opened up. Maybe it's just a trick of the eye with this, but I see very little on here that's solid white. I see a lot of white with kind of a little, little blips of green and purple and blue in there. So I don't know that it's going to match up exactly, but I think it'll still be very, very pretty. And maybe as a little like worsted weight shawlette type thing. So that's Everyone Needs a Need for spinning. And of course I have a little bit for yarn as well, for knitting. So I also have, I wanted to show you something I won, and then a couple things that I'm gifting. So I am a member of the Yarn Snobs Incorporated group on Ravelry. It's actually a couple friends from my actual live knitting group that started the group, and we love some snobby yarn. And a couple of the people in the group have their own small business Etsy shops. And so when I knit the sockhead hat for Zachary's teacher, who by the way loved her hat, they both did. As a matter of fact, his math teacher sent me an email. I love this hat, all in capital letters, and he, inside he said, "Thank you so much for knitting this for me. That was very thoughtful." And I went back and told him about how, of course, it was appropriate for the math and science teacher to have a trilobite hat with all the math to make the cables work, and that it was a trilobite for science. So hopefully he's going to wear that and enjoy it. And he's a really neat guy, and he's a fabulous teacher, and I'm very happy that my son gets to have him as a teacher for a year. So I would have definitely knit him a hat anyway. So when I was knitting the sockhead hat for his reading teacher, I actually was in the middle of a knit along with the Yarn Snobs, and there were gifts, there were prizes available. So I won a skein of Boho yarns. This is her Cericos base, and it's a fingering sock weight yarn, and this is the Oktoberfest colorway. It's very nice. It's a 70% merino wool and 30% silk. And I was thinking that I may do another sock hat out of this. I might find a different hat to use with it. It's a very generous skein. It's 420 yards. So thank you so much for the yarn. It's beautiful. I've already thanked her and told her how much I love it, but it's very nice and soft. But it might also be a hat. I know I have one hat that I want to do that's more towards a worsted weight, and I was thinking of using fingering weight held double. So I may do that as well. Because I already have some creatively dyed yarn that I want to do as my sockhead hat, and that's probably going to be my after Christmas cast on, because I want to get that done. And the yarn is all caked up, and the needles are sitting there and everything, so it's all ready to go. So this was another thing. Boho yarn's very nice. And then let me show you, I also ordered, for around Black Friday, Webb's was having a sale, lovelyyarn.com, and it was, you know, Webb's has a discount plan anyway. When you buy yarn, the more you buy, the better the price is. So the price had gotten really good, but then they were also offering free shipping for anything over, I want to say it was $75. And my mother has been gaga over some yarn that she used for my son for his Christmas present, and she made him some fingerless mitts, and they are absolutely gorgeous. I should have gotten that pattern. I'll link it in the show notes. I will, I promise. I'll link it in the show notes. She made him some fingerless mitts out of some Madelinetosh, so duh, of course they're gorgeous. And she went on and on and on and on and on and on and on about the yarn. So I told everybody in the family that they were giving her a skein of yarn, and I bought a sweater's worth of yarn, and then everybody's going to give her a skein, because the adults in my family are only supposed to do stocking stuffers for each other. So if everybody gives her one skein, then that qualifies. So the Madelinetosh, and the only one they had in this colorway, this is apparently a very popular colorway, it's Golden Hickory, and the only one that they had of sweaters, the only one that was even in stock was the Madelinetosh Sport. So I really need to find a pattern for her to do a whole sweater with, because she's not usually a sport weight type sweater person. So I need to look around and find a sweater that would work for her for this. And I've got a couple in mind, but if you know of any and would like to make recommendations, recommend away. Go into the thread for this episode and let me know what you think. And I'll post the ones that I'm thinking of too. So it's Golden Hickory. Without any further ado, this is it. This colorway, you know how Madelinetosh is everything, each slot is done on its own. This one looks a little more green than what she was working with. The one she was working with had a little bit more of the orange and yellow in it, but it's still so gorgeous. And so these two skeins appear very green. I've already given my sister the two that she and her husband will wrap up. And then so for here, because I've already got the shawl and I have something else for my mom too, this is going to be one skein from my dad and one skein from my son, so that she gets her whole sweater's worth. And so we've got 1,200 yards. I think it's just over. It's actually almost 1,400 yards. So definitely enough for her to do a sweater for herself, and I'm very excited over that. So, but that only came to like $60 something. Once you get all the discounts in there, this really goes down well. So, you know, I have to smell Madelinetosh. So I needed something to make sure I got up to the point where I wasn't paying for shipping, right? And so instead of paying for shipping, wouldn't you rather have some solis? So this is the colorway that I used for my son's teacher's hat, and so I got it back for myself. Rather than pay shipping, I bought yarn, right? So this doesn't smell as good as Madelinetosh, but this is Malabrigo sock yarn. Is there nylon in Malabrigo sock? I have no idea, and it doesn't say. Oh yes, it does. Just superwash merino wool. So I don't know that I'm going to do socks with it. I might knit another type of hat for myself, or I might knit a shawl, because I would love a shawl in this colorway. And this looks very blue on the screen. It's actually a little bit more green than that. But yeah, gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I wonder if it's, I'm not flash my address all over the screen. I wonder if it shows up better with the white background. A little bit. That's a little bit more true to color. So it's definitely got some green in it, but I thought this was a great bargain shipping for this, right? So those things are going as gifts, although not from me. And then the last part of Everyone Needs a Me is some bags from Knitting's My Bag. If you have never ordered from Knitting's My Bag, from Lois, from Knitting's My Bag. Her bags are wonderful. Her prices are outstanding, and she's the sweetest person. I swear to goodness, she's very sweet. And you know what? I know I could use improvement in some areas of my life, and I'm definitely not as dedicated to the church as I could be. But she includes some cards. She includes a little bit of scripture, a little bit of a healing word in her bag when she sends things. But you don't even mind it, and she definitely has. Right on her Etsy store, when she says what she does, she has her proverb scripture on there, which is kind of a little tongue in cheek because I don't know that they meant these kind of bags. But she also gives a little bit of, what are these called, tracts, and I don't even mind because she gives such a nice project, and then this is what she does, and she leaves it at that. She's not really over the top with it. She's just a really nice person, and her bags are incredible. So I bought 3 bags. Again, she did a big update right around Black Friday, and so I got 3 bags of her, I forget what she calls them, dual skein? Let's see. She calls them alternating skein bag. And these bags are only $10. $10 for these bags. So I got 3 of them, and I'm going to have my son choose which one goes for my mother, which one goes for my sister, and then the leftover bag I will keep, of course. So I got these 3 bags. This pattern, and when you see them on the shop, they're kind of folded. Well, they're folded like this when you see them in the shop, but this is the way the bag sits, and it's got a drawstring to it so that you can cinch it up. And it's got a grommet on this side and a grommet on this side. So when you put your yarn in the center, you put your 2 skeins in. I don't think I have 2 skeins wound up. Yes, I do. You put your 2 skeins in, and there's plenty of room, right? The skeins are, I'm just now touching a skein, so my hand went all that way. So it's got plenty of room still left inside. There you go. And so one piece of yarn feeds out that side, one piece feeds out that side. So if you're doing color work or you're doing some stitch surfers where you need your 2 colors to stay separate, this bag takes care of all that. And it's actually small enough where you could do that just to keep your yarn in place, then cinch it up, and you could put that into a bigger bag, and that would totally work. Because I could put those into my big bag. I could put this skein or this bag into another bag that had all my pattern, my needles, my stitch markers, everything else. I could put that in the bigger bag and still have plenty of room. Ta-da! So those are really neat. And like I said, $10. $10. That's it. So there's one pattern. This one is the other pattern. This is the one I hope that I get, but I'm going to let my son decide. And then this is another one. These big funky flowers I thought were cool too. So we'll let him decide which one he thinks should go to my sister, which one he thinks should go to my mother, and which one I can keep. What I'm thinking he's going to say is this is going to be my sister because it's loud and flashy. Not that she's loud, but she's more vivacious, I think. And I think this one is very soft, and I think he's going to think that that one should be for his grandmother. And then so I'm hoping that this one will be mine. We'll see, though. We'll see how it turns out. Hey, it doesn't really matter to me, and I just think that this is going to work out better than what I used originally for my stitch surfers, because the original bag that I had for my stitch surfers is a little bit stiff and bulky. When I put it into a bag, it took up the whole space. So I can only imagine that it would be better to have these going. So that is the last part of Everyone Needs a Thneed. Everyone needs a project bag from Knitting's My Bag. So check her out on Etsy. And I think that brings us to everything. No, I did forget something. I'll try and include a picture of it either at the end of the podcast or in the group thread and on the blog, because I got my latest shipment of Club Awesome. And Club Awesome is the collaborative between Neighborhood Fiber Company, Dragonfly Fibers, and Cephalopod Yarns, which are all local dyers for me. They're all here in the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area, somewhere nearby. And it was a skein. I don't know, I'm kind of torn. I love Neighborhood Fiber Company. I love her dyeing. I think her color sense is amazing. But the yarn I was not too sold on, only because I don't personally like mohair. I find mohair to be a little flyaway and itchy. It goes, it flies out of my scarf or sweater or whatever it's in and goes right to my nose and tickles my nose. So I don't normally like it. We'll see if maybe this yarn has done something different with it where it will stay put, but it's a very thick, a thick ribbon yarn or like tape yarn type construction. And it's a super bulky weight, and it's in a gorgeous purple color. So I love the color. Not too sure about the yarn. I did, however, already find a pattern. The pattern is called the Acer shawl. If you look it up on Ravelry, the Acer shawl is done for bulky yarn and is done for like 100 yards, which I think her Carita skein has, it's either 108 or 180, so it's not too much yardage, but it's enough. And the Acer shawl is meant to take just a very small amount of yarn like that. I want to say it's 180 yards because a couple patterns that I looked up said that they were for 120 yards worth of super bulky weight, and I knew I definitely had enough. So I want to say her skein was 180 yards. And the Acer shawl, it's the size of a shawl, but it's really like a shawlette worth of knitting because it would go just across my shoulders. It would be a decent wingspan for a regular shawl, but it's done in super bulky yarn, so I think it's only 3 repeats of a lace pattern, and that's all you need for the super bulky yarn, and it's going to be huge and enough for a shawl. So I'm going to try and knit that up. I might do that when I'm traveling over the holidays and see if that's something I would like. If not, I can find someone to gift it to. If I'm sure to let them know about the mohair. So that is all for Everyone Needeth Need. And on to think that okay, so To Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street, which I should just call Mulberry Street from now on, is going to be where I talk about local happenings or things happening in the group on Ravelry. So the first thing that's going to happen is our first knit along of 2014. So we did the diabetes awareness knit along, and that worked out great. And I hope to have at least as many, if not maybe even some more people join me for a knit along starting in January. Last year I did a sweater knit along with the Two Knitlet Chicks. And it was for a sweater, and I loved it. I know they were saying that, they live in California, so they said that a lot of people that participated with them were knitting a sweater in January, and then by the time they finished it, it was too warm for them to wear it. But here where I live, in Maryland, it's normally cold until at least April, sometimes into May, you still need a sweater. So I find I have no problem with starting a sweater in January. Even if it does take me 2 months to knit it, then I'm done in March, and I still have 2, maybe 3 months to wear it. So I would like to start a sweater knit along. I did a little informal poll in the group and asked just, what should we knit? And a lot of people said that they would like to knit a sweater, just to do a general sweater knit along. And so I'll take you up on the offer. So we're going to do a sweater knit along. Now I'm going to run it along in the group on Ravelry, but I'm also going to run it with my local group. Hi Wegmans Knitters. So I'm going to open it up to them at the first meeting that we have together in January, and that's around the time when I would like to cast on. I toyed around with casting on just after Christmas on December 26th when all the gifts have been given, but I think that a New Year's cast on is going to work out well. Probably because I'm going to be at home on New Year's. I don't know that I have any plans. I haven't been invited to any big parties or anything, and I think my sweetie is going to be spending time with his family, so I think I'm probably going to be at home for New Year's, which I will have just gotten back from a trip, so I'll probably just want to sit and relax and chill anyway. So I think I'll probably be casting on New Year's Eve. So New Year's Eve would be the start date, and then I'm going to have it go for all of January and all of February, and I'll leave March 1st as the end of the knit along. So what I'm going to do is, I know that I'm going to knit a sweater that a couple other people mentioned as well. I would like to do the Miranda pullover. If you look it up on Ravelry, it's a really nice casual sweater. I think I have enough work sweaters, although I could always knit a work sweater. I have one in progress right now that's going to be a work sweater, but The Miranda pullover is just a casual kind of weekend type sweater, which I don't have a lot of those. A lot of times what I'm knitting is for work. So the Miranda is a pullover with options. It could be long sleeve or short sleeve. It could have a hood or not. It could have a pocket or not. So there's a lot of different variation to how you can knit it up. It's for a worsted to an Aran weight yarn, and I have a couple different lots in my stash that would work for that. So I would like to do the Miranda sweater. You don't have to do the Miranda sweater. If you have another sweater in mind, then just cast on for those dates with us, show us your progress in the group, participate with us, ask questions if you need to. If I can't help, hopefully somebody else in the group can, and we'll just kind of be there to support each other. So I hope it sounds like a good idea to you as well. I have a little bit of yarn that I can offer up as rewards for finishing. We'll have at least one prize drawing. If you are somebody who would like to donate a prize, please contact me, because we could always have more, but I have yarn from my stash that I can give as a prize drawing as well. In January, the first time that my live knitting group meets, we're having a yarn stash giveaway, where everybody brings in yarn that they from their stash that they know they're not going to get to anymore, and it's kind of up for grabs. So once I'm cleaning out my stash, more closer towards New Year, and get a chance to kind of toss it all up and see what's there and what might be available, I'll let you know exactly what the prize will be, but it'll be something from my stash, and I promise it won't be anything cheesy or old or decrepit or disgusting. So, because there are some yarns like that in my stash, but not a lot. So, and some yarns are just things that I know I'm not going to knit, or that I don't personally care to knit with anymore. I know I was in a big fingering weight craze for a while. I was also in a big worsted weight and cotton yarn craze for a while, and so some of those things might be appealing to people as well, and those are the things that I'm kind of going to give to my knit group, but I'll also look for something yummy and delicious to offer up for a prize for the knit along. So come and join into knitting with me for the Miranda sweater, or whatever sweater you would like. So I'll put more definite details in the group. I know sometimes when I get going I get a little rambly, but it's basically just a general sweater knit along starting on New Year's Eve, ending on March 1st. Knit what you would like, as long as it's a sweater, and I don't think it even has to be an adult sweater. It could be a baby sweater. Might have to have some yardage requirements or something, but feel free to join in, whatever sweater you would like. Let me see if there's anything else. Okay, so I think that's it for the regular knitting talk. The rest is going to be Gerald McBoing Boing. So I saved this for the end, just in case anybody didn't want to hear it. I know I'm 41 minutes into this, and you'll have to forgive me. The setup is a little bit new. I did the, I record with my iPad, and I did the latest operating system update, and so everything's different. And the timer is right about there, which is on the white wall. It's like beside that picture right there, and the numbers are white and the wall is off-white. So it's kind of like, what's the time running already? So the only thing I have left to share is Gerald McBoing Boing. So if you would care to hear our expeditions for the past 2 weeks, stay tuned. If not, I'll understand, and I'll see you next time. And see Gerald McBoing Boing and I have been busy the last couple weeks. So, he's got the whole diabetes thing going on. And every once in a while he is asked to participate in what's called a promise meeting and with the JDRF. And JDRF is the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. And what the meetings basically are my coworker said I was lobbying Congress. And it kind of is. It's reminding and requesting our officials to continue to vote for supporting diabetes research funding. So when we have these meetings, usually what we're doing is we're going in and asking them to re-sign a bill. There's a program called the Special Diabetes Program, which has been going for a while, but it gets renewed every year. I think it actually last time it was renewed for 2 years, which is why we just got invited back. So this time it's going for just a year. And they are, signing off on continuing to fund research, the research through the JDRF and through NIH, which is everything is right here local. So it's very, very prevalent in the minds of these officials. And usually the officials, both of the officials that we met with, actually have connections with diabetes, with juvenile diabetes or diabetes in some way. So we met with, a couple of years ago, we met with Steny Hoyer, which is one of our local representatives, and asked him, and he actually has personal connections anyway. I think he's got a niece or a nephew, somebody in his family who has juvenile diabetes. So it's, I think, I want to say he told us that it was his brother, monitoring his own child and doing all these things. So he kind of has secondhand knowledge, not firsthand knowledge. And Zachary and his dad were supposed to have gone down 1 week to meet with Steny Hoyer, and it was an earlier meeting, so they took the whole day off school and went down there, and come to find out, he never showed up to the meeting. Hoyer never showed up to the meeting. But then the next week we were scheduled to go in the afternoon, so we would only have to take a half day. We were scheduled to go in the afternoon and meet with another local representative, Barbara Mikulski. And so we took off that day. Now, mind you, Zachary's already been to missed a day of school, which he hates to miss school. He's a perfect attendance freak. Took off a day of school to go down there, and the person never showed up. So we already are scheduled for the next time to go and meet with Barbara Mikulski. We're promised up and down, even the day before, we're promised, yes, she's going to be there. The person that arranged the whole meeting said, yes, I spoke with her office. She's going to be there. She's looking forward to meeting with us. And then later that very same day, this was all right around the time that Nelson Mandela passed. So later that very same day, we get a message from the man who's organizing everything from JDRF that says, oh, she got invited to a memorial for Mandela. She's not going to be there. We can still meet with her and go with her representative. But, if this changes your mind for attending the meeting, I understand. I'm not going to take my own children out because Mikulski is not going to be there. So I understand completely. And then like 2 minutes later, he sends me another email and says, I know that Zachary was a little bit disappointed that he didn't get to meet with Hoyer last week, but Hoyer's office contacted me again, and they would like to take a picture with you anyway. Would you mind going to Hoyer's office, having this picture, or this photo op is what he called it, doing this photo op, and then coming to the meeting with Mikulski? And we're like, sure, we're going to be down there anyway. We can do it all. It was all right around the same time, so I didn't have to take off any earlier. Sure, no problem. So long story short, we go down there. I feel all scandal worthy, as I'm walking up there. We walked in from the back side of the Capitol where the employees usually come from, not from the public side, from the front. And it was like, I'm walking up and I go, there was a scene of scandal shot here. I know this lawn. I know these benches. I know this area. This is where it all happens. And so it just felt very surreal. And we didn't go through the main doors. We walked in through a police guard shack on the side and then up the back doors of the Capitol. And so it all felt very official. And the Capitol building is beautiful. But again, long story short, we go to Hoyer's office, no dice. Still not there. Still not going to be able to take this photo op with us now. My kid's pissed off. The people from his staff are like, oh, we're so sorry, but, he's running behind schedule. He's got this to do. This also came up. He hasn't even eaten lunch yet. He's not going to be able to take the picture with you. And she says, maybe next time. We're nice and polite, and we say, okay, thank you, thank you for your time, whatever. We leave. We walk out of his office into the hallway. My kid says, there won't be a next time for me. He was so mad. So interesting that we got to go to the Capitol, but now he's mad because Hoyer didn't keep his appointments. And not to trash talk him or anything, I know he's busy, but it was just funny that he's like, there won't be a next time for me. You get me down here twice and no meeting, you won't get another chance. So we left that meeting, walked across the hill again to a different meeting to meet with Barbara Mikulski's staff, and that meeting did go on, and it was actually very timely because with all the hiking here and there and up and down and all the emotions and everything, while we were in the meeting, he actually started feeling bad. He had a low blood sugar, so he was, while we're doing the whole meeting, we look at his glucose monitor, it says he's going down. he checks on his real meter. It says, yeah, he's getting there. So we ended up, he had to check, and then we ended up just deciding to turn his insulin pump down a little bit so that he wasn't quite getting as much insulin as he normally would, so that hopefully he wouldn't go low, and he ended up being fine after that. But it just, it was very timely that we're in the meeting talking about the struggles of living with type 1 diabetes, and he went low right at the same time. And there was actually another child, a little bit older girl, that had the same pump as he did. And her pump, she wasn't even wearing it at the time because she was so, her nerves were so all over the place, and they had been running around here and there and here and there, that she was actually really low. So they just took the pump off altogether. So there was no insulin going in at all. So just, kind of very timely, good demonstration of what happens in, a day in the life. And again, Barbara Mikulski's staff was very supportive. We heard lots of good things, and we were assured by her staff member, I don't even remember her name, that she would be signing off on the bill. So I guess in a way it was, good progress made, but, a little disappointing for an 11-year-old who's looking forward to actually meeting with somebody and getting to talk. So, and it's always nice to feel like we're doing our part, and so I feel like, being so close and being able to go to these meetings is part of what, we can do for the cause. So that is where we've been running around to. And I think that's it for Gerald McBoing Boing. He's off now with his dad for Christmas with his dad's family, because we're going to take a trip, just he and I together, after the break. So after the holidays, the first time I record in January, I will let you know all about our little expedition and how it went. But for now, have happy holidays. I hope that your knitting makes you happy, and I will see you again probably in 2014. Bye.